here, and today I'm doing a tutorial type video to show you what FRAPS is and how you take FRAPS videos and render them in Sony Vegas with the intent to upload them to YouTube. Just a note here, this is strictly a video for FRAPS being uploaded to YouTube with the use of Sony Vegas on a 19 by 20 by 1080 setup. I've done a lot of research on the internet looking through YouTube videos and other kinds of sources to figure out what the best settings are. So this is not only my own research and other tutorials I've seen, but also just trial and error to try and find the best settings to upload to YouTube and having the smallest file size possible but still retaining good quality video. So let's get started. What is FRAPS? Well, FRAPS is probably the most popular video capturing software that you can get for your PC. And I think it's like 30 bucks or something. But there's a trial version that lets you record like for 30 seconds or something. Like every 30 seconds you can record. Anyway, this is what it looks like, and this is the general tab, and it has like start FRAPS, minimize, FRAPS window always on top, run when window starts, blah blah blah. This one here though, the monitor arrow desktop DWM, that is what you check so that you can record your desktop like I am right now. And then there's the FPS or frames per second tab. This is where you pick where your overlay is going to be, which is just like where it says what your frames per second are. The rest is all benchmark stuff. I don't really deal with that. I don't know what it all means. I don't mess with it. This tab here, movies, is probably the most important one. This is all your settings for capturing game videos or whatever it is you're capturing. Up here is your directory where it's going to go. Mine is my C drive, FRAPS movie. And right here is your hotkey for starting your recording. You can make it whatever you want. You can make it like, delete key, hyphen, whatever. I pick the home key. Sound capture settings, you want to keep that at record Win 7 sound stereo. Sounds the best, I think. Down here you get your video capture settings. I keep my frames per second at 29.97. When I first got FRAPS and I was looking at tutorials about it and whatnot, that was what was suggested. I'm not really sure what the meaning of it is, but you'll see in a little bit on one of the presets for Vegas Pro, the frames per second is this. So I'm not sure why it's so recommended, but that's what I run with. You can put it on 60 frames per second if you're running a really good game like, say, Battlefield 3 or Skyrim or something high quality like that, if your computer can handle it. If your computer is bogging down when you run 60 frames per second, then you don't want to use it. You want to use something lower like 30 or 29.97. You want to keep it at full size unless you can run it at 60 frames. If you can do half size and it can still look alright. You got to kind of play with it to find out what your computer can handle and what's going to work for you. This is the setup I've been running for years. It works good for me. This right here is a new feature that FRAPS has added in their latest update. It's a split movie every 4 gigabytes. And the thing you need to know about FRAPS is that when it records game footage or even footage off of your desktop, it records in large sizes. Just a few minutes can be 4 gigs of space for a file size, and that's a lot. And if you're doing a lot of video recording, you're probably going to need an external drive or an additional hard drive, or just make sure you clean your videos every so often and not have them pile up, because it takes up a lot of space. I'm not really sure why it does that. It's just the way FRAPS has always been. It records in such good quality that it has very large file sizes, and that's just the way it is. Over here, you have your record external input, which is like your microphone. Basically, whatever mic that you have set to default will be in here. And maybe if it's not the right one and you go down and you change your default to what you want it to be, you're going to have to restart FRAPS for it to come up. And to record your voice, you just click this check right here. Make sure that's checked so that it's going to detect your voice. Otherwise, it won't. Down here, you can choose to press a key if you want it to capture your voice. Where it's not capturing it all the time, you can just press that key. That's kind of useful sometimes if you're using like Ventrilo or any other game that supports voice. Whatever hotkey you have for that particular game or your Ventrilo, you can set it to the same hotkey as this, and every time you speak to everybody else in the game, it's actually going to capture you on the FRAPS as well, and that's the only time it will capture you. And then you can choose to hide mouse cursor, why would you want to, and you can't tell what you're clicking on. Lock frame rate, that's kind of your own choice. I don't like to use it because it can bog down performance, I think. But that just keeps your frame rate at a lock frame per second when you're recording. And that's only really good if you can run high frames per second. I don't mess with it because whenever I used it, it didn't take very good videos. Screenshots, you get your directory up here, your screenshot hotkey, and the different image formats you can pick from. I like to use JPEG, works best for me. And over here you got include frame rate overlay on screenshots, which is only really if you want to show what your frame rate is at that moment. And then repeat screen capture every whatever seconds, which is kind of cool if you like to take screenshots. You can be playing Battlefield 3 and you can set it to take a screenshot, say, oh, I don't know, every 2 minutes. And you have that checked, it will automatically take a screenshot every 2 minutes, and who knows what you'll be doing during the game. And you may surprise yourself, and you might play a match, and then after you're done, come back and check all your screenshots that got taken every 2 minutes, and who knows, you might have caught something that looked pretty cool. So that's the FRAPS interface. Now let's head over to Sony Vegas. And here we are. Now, before you do anything, first and foremost, you want to set up your project properties. And to do that, there's two ways. You go to File, go to New, and here is your new project. This is what you see every time you start a new project file. And you have your template up here. I have my saved template, which is my YouTube upload, 1920 by 1080, 29.970 frames per second. But there's a whole list here. But what works best for me in my gaming capture videos is this one right here, HD 1080 60i 1920 by 1080 29.970 frames per second. Click that one, and you can call it whatever you want. You can make whatever name for it so you don't lose it. We're just going to put, say, I don't know, render test video 1080. Oops. Then you click right here to save. You got your width and height, 1920 by 1080, make sure that's correct. If you are recording in 1920 by 1080, then that's what you want your settings to be on your video editing software, whether it's Sony Vegas or Adobe Premiere, whatever. It's very important that what you record at is what you render at. If you want to, you can run the 1280 by 720 resolution, which a lot of people use on YouTube because it's smaller and it's easier to handle for computers that aren't super fast. And some people just prefer it. I personally like to use 1920 by 1080, but it's all your personal preference and what you want to do or what your system can handle. And they have a preset for that as well right down here. HDV 720 30p 1280 by 720 29.970 frames. But for this video, we're just going to use the 1080 preset. So make sure this is all correct here, which it is. In your field order, I'm not really sure what it does, but I have found my best luck has been with none and keep it on progressive scan. Click that. That defaulted back to my old template. That's okay. We want to keep pixel aspect ratio to square. Make sure that's that one there. 1. Frame rate. Like I said before, it's already here. 29.970. If you want to, you can change it to something else, like if you're running 30, you can just type in 30, but we're going to keep it at that for now. Stereoscopic 3D mode, we don't need that, we're not doing any 3D. Pixel format, keep it at 8-bit. Full resolution rendering quality, best. Motion blur type, Gaussian. Deinterlace method, none. And adjust source media to better match project or render settings. This is the thing that takes away the black bars on the side of your video. If you're recording a lower quality video, let's say maybe Minecraft or just an older game in general, you might get these bars on the side. You click that to get rid of them. Some games, it will create those bars if you have it clicked. the preview space right here will show whether or not those bars are there. And when you click or unclick that, it will fix it. We're just going to leave that off for now. And then where your save files are going to go, start all new projects with these settings and apply. Okay, so say you're halfway through your project and you forget to set your properties. That's fine. The second way you can do it is to go right up here to this icon right here. It says right there, Project Video Properties. And it's the same menu we just had a moment ago. So now you're ready to bring in some files. There's two ways you can do this. There's Import Media right here, that little button, or you go to File, Import, Media. That takes too long, so we're just going to use the button. And here is where all my FRAPS movies are. Seeing how it says where I get my videos from, it just defaults to this folder. I'm going to go ahead and just grab some footage here from Metro. Double click that, and it goes right here into your space for media. Drag that down to your timeline. Now, the next thing you want to do is to right click and go to switches, disable resample. What this does, it makes it so it's not so blurry when it's playing. When you transition from one clip to the next, it can be pretty blurry if you do not have disable turned on. See, I'm going to go to say like right here, and we'll split the clip, get rid of this, that's gone, make this short and sweet. I'll go right here, split it again, get rid of this guy, goodbye. So now we got our clip, and we're all set. The next thing you might want to do is add some different effects to it. One thing I want to point out is the fact that when you upload it to YouTube, it can sometimes darken your video, and I'll go into more detail about that when we're ready to render. So we're going to add some video effects to it. You can do that by right-clicking, going to Media Effects, and now you got your whole thing of effects here. And this is in the Sony tab. We'll go to Sony Brightness and Contrast, click Add, or just double click, and it goes right up here. We'll hit OK, and we want to brighten this up a little bit so that it's not going to be so dark when it gets uploaded to YouTube. So I'll go to brightness and put it on, say, I don't know, 0.50. See how it brightened up a bit? And you can go up here to check mark, check it off, check it on, check it off, check it on, just make sure it looks okay. We'll give it a little bit of contrast. Put that also at 0.50. And that can kind of give the colors a little more vibrance. I think we'll add just a touch more brightness. 75. That looks better. And the next thing that you can do, if you want, it's totally up to you. I like to use it every now and then, kind of helps. I use Sharpen. So since we're already in this menu here, you can go right to here, and you can add another plugin. So, you go to Sony Sharpen, add, okay, and now there's that. And it's already by default set to 0.500. I like to tone it down a bit, put it on, say, 150. And then we can check that. Off, on, off, on. You can barely see it. So we'll turn it up a little more, say 250. It's very slight, you can barely tell. But in some games it's you can tell more than others. So now you got your effects on there. You have disabled resampling. Now we're ready to render. So go to your video, and you can go up here to File, Render As, or you can click on the shortcut right here, which just says Render As. Click it, and this brings you to your different options for rendering. Now, I have Show Favorites turned on, and these are my two main ones. I got Windows Media Video, and then I have Main Concept, which is AVC-AAC MP4. The difference that I've found between these two is I like to use Windows Media Video if I'm doing small videos. That is because I don't have to worry about the videos being too large in size, and they look great. MP4, however, are CPU accelerated, which means that you're rendering with mostly the CPU of the computer. It is being rendered straight from that. And that causes it to render much faster than using Windows Media Video. But it doesn't look as good. Back to my topic on brightening up your videos for YouTube. You do not have to brighten it up at all when you're using Windows Media Video. But when you're using MP4, I found a lot of times my videos will be much darker after I upload them to YouTube. And that just really sucks. When you make a video and you go, oh man, this looks great. It's ready to go to YouTube. And then you wait however long it takes for it to go up to YouTube just to find out it's too dark. It's not looking good. And that's pretty frustrating. So bear in mind when you're using MP4 is you're going to want to turn up the brightness and add that effect onto your video. And where it might look a little too bright when you're making the video itself, it's going to look great on YouTube once it's all said and done. For this tutorial, I'm going to go to MP4 because that's what I like to use most, and it's because it makes a much smaller file size than Windows Media Video. It doesn't look as good, but it's got a much smaller file size, so it favors rendering speed and upload speed as opposed to quality, but it still looks alright. So we're going to use this preset here. Let's turn favorites off and bring this all back to the way it's supposed to be. This is what you're going to see. All the different presets you got, all the different templates. You got your Windows Media Video down here. You have your main concept, ABC-AAC MP4 here. So open that up. What you want to do, got my presets down here. You want to go to Internet HD 1080p or Internet HD 720p, depending on what you're using. For this video, we're using this one. Click on that and go to Customize Template. And here's a window that looks similar to your Properties menu, but it's not the same. Here, you have all the different settings you can change when you're rendering your video. So, of course we want to include our video in our rendering. To our frame size, you want to make sure you're using the right frame size. In this case, it's our 1920 by 1080. Allow source to adjust frame size? Nope, because our source is 1920 by 1080, so you don't need to adjust the frame size. Profile. We'll keep that on main. Putting it on high makes it a little larger file size. Baseline, I didn't test that, but I'm not going to say it's much better, and it doesn't even make it look any different anyway, so we're just going to keep it on main. Frame size, keep that at our 29.970, like so. Allow source to adjust frame rate. Well, my source is 29.97, so I don't need it to adjust, so I'm going to unclick that. Field order, keep it on progressive scan. Pixel aspect ratio, 1. And I'm going to change this to constant bitrate. In this case, I can choose what my bitrate is going to be. So, I like to put it at least 10 million bitrate per second. And the higher the bitrate, the better the video is going to look. The higher the bitrate means longer rendering time, longer upload, and larger file size. But it's going to look much better if you can deal with that. So for this video, we're going to go with 10. Under encode mode, you want to go to render using CPU only. Now you can go to render using GPU if available, which means if you choose that, you go over to system and you check GPU. If it says CUDA is available, then that means that you can render using your GPU. But in my case, I like to use render using CPU only. Enable progressive download, I don't really know what it means, so we're just going to leave it alone. In audio doesn't really make much of a difference, but I'm going to put my sample rate at 44,100. In my bit rate, I'll bring that up to 112,000. Now the reason why I lowered those is because they can increase your file size, and I don't notice any difference in audio quality, so that's why I lowered them. And under project, go to video rendering quality, and I know that in our project settings we already set this up, but just to be sure, I'm going to make sure and it's on best. And if you want to save your project for further use, you can go up here and change the name of it so you can find it again. We'll just call it render test. Hit OK. And see, now it's right here where you can find it and use it again. And if you want, you can do what I do here. Click the star and then go to show favorites only. So that way, it's always right there where you can find it. And up here, you can choose where the file is going to go and give it a name. Just call it render test. Now it's all set to go, and you hit render. Now that's going to go through all the frames in the video. As you can see right here, how fast the frame speed is going up. That is the plus to using the CPU as your renderer. I'm going to go ahead and let this render, and I'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and our video has completed rendering. And from here, you can hit open to open the video, open the folder where it's at, or just close. So we're going to close. And now I'm going to show you how this video came out. Now, here you can make your decision. Do you want to wait a while for it to render and upload and get very good quality videos, or save yourself a little bit of time and have a shorter upload and a shorter render for a little less quality in your video? My preference is going to be the MP4, and you can make your own decision on it. I hope the tutorial helped. I sure got helped out by other people's tutorials, but sometimes you gotta do a lot of your own trial and error and just see what works and what doesn't work. So thanks for watching, and please like the video and comment and subscribe to see more of my videos. See ya.